Hello everyone, this is Geoffrey Henderson. Thank you so much for coming to our YouTube channel. Innocent Love, really appreciate that. So today's topic that I want to be talking about is called Too Many Red Flags on the First Date, okay? So that's the first thing I want to talk about today on this particular message. I have five red flags that I think that are pretty good that I want to talk about, that if you encounter those, it is definitely time for you to think about bailing out of this first date, because I don't think it's gonna work out. If one is there, then maybe it can be, you can still make it work. But if all of those are in there, it's definitely a no-no, and I would not suggest continuing any further into that date. Maybe finish the first date nicely and then say goodbye. It was nice to meet you, and that's about it. Okay, so anyway, the first red flag that I think you should be aware of if you have a first date is if the person is talking a lot about himself or herself. So if you go on the first date and you meet this wonderful guy or this beautiful lady, and you sit down, and the first thing is on mind is, okay, the person starts talking about himself all the time. It never stops, continuously talking about himself, talking about herself, and you never get a word, and you never really get a chance to say something about yourself, or the person doesn't ask you any questions, like how are you doing? What do you like? What are your hobbies? Anything about yourself, but constantly talks about himself or herself on a continuous basis. That would basically be a major red flag. Of course, maybe at the beginning the person is extremely excited, like constantly, just met you. Obviously at the beginning the person is extremely excited, but then further down the line, if the person starts to never really let you talk, then obviously that would be a sign, a big red flag. All right, the other red flag that I think you should be looking out for is if the person gets easily distracted, basically constantly looking on the phone, looking around, maybe playing with the keys, or looking at the food, or looking at other people, not really paying attention on you, not really focusing on the first date, not really focusing on engaging with you as a person. That also will be a major red flag that you have to look out for. However, if the person is a little nervous at the beginning, maybe you can cut that person some slack, because the person is a little nervous. But down the line, if the person does not give you any attention at all and is constantly distracted, it could also be a sign that the person is just simply not interested in you. The person is not interested in you, and that could also be a major red flag that you should look out for, to not go any further into that first date. Okay, the other red flag that you should look out for is if the person calls another person on the phone. You have a first date, you talk with each other, all of a sudden the phone rings, and the person's talking on the phone, not really paying attention to you at all, and then the phone rings again, and the person talks to somebody else, maybe talks about his or her mom or dad or friend or whatever. That really tells you that the person is not really interested in you, because the phone seems to be more important, or whoever they're talking to seems to be more important than you talking with you on the first date. Okay, so that's also be a major red flag that you should look out for. Okay, the other red flag that I would think you should look out for on your first date is, this is a major red flag. Okay, let's say for example you just met, maybe you spend a few hours talking on the phone with each other, but you have not really met in person. So now you're going on your first date, and maybe after the dinner is over, the person expresses love to you on the first date. Okay, that is a major red flag. Why would the person say to you on your first date, I love you, I love you? Why would the person say this on the first date? Okay, I think honestly that's a major red flag that you should look out for. I'm sorry, I had to look at here. We want to make sure the music plays in the background here, okay? Major red flag that you should look out for, okay? The other red flag that you should look out for that is extremely important is if the person talks a lot about money. Now hear me out on that one, okay? Because talking about a few things about finances is always good. You should talk about that. You want to, kind of know where you are financially, but you really should keep this on the minimum because you are really interested in the person for who they are and not what kind of money they have, okay? However, if the person is constantly talking about money, like I'm talking about like all the time, like, how much money do you make? What kind of job do you have? What kind of income do you see yourself making in the future? Do you have any stocks? Do you have what kind of house do you have? Like very materialistic, Talk about all these money things and materialistic things, okay? This is a major red flag because down the line, it seems like that the person is more interested in your wealth, in your financial status, in your well-being, anything like that. It seems to be more important to that person than you are, okay? If that's the case, that would also be a major red flag of why you should not continue dating that person, because honestly, this can get only worse down the line, if the person already shows it. Maybe the person is very insecure. Maybe the person is very, materialistic, like I said before, and that's why the person is asking you so many questions about financial things, okay? I would honestly say that would also be a major red flag, okay? And you should not really engage. Maybe, if it's on the first date, and maybe the person really wants to make sure that you are financially okay because, maybe the person looks long term, wants to make sure that, hey, if I date this guy, if I date this woman, I want to make sure that she is somehow established, he is somehow established. So if I go any further with that person into the relationship, I don't have to have any problems with it because maybe that person is very, worried about financial things, and you have to give them that, However, if it's like the main subject throughout the entire date, like constantly talking about money all the time, then honestly, for me personally, I will back up. That would be a major red flag for me personally, and I would not continue this date, anymore. Maybe keep it like, finish the dinner, finish the meal, especially if it's like, well, it was a very expensive meal. Finish the meal and then say goodbye, maybe be very honest and say, hey, I think we had a nice time, but I don't see this going any further. So let's just call it quits and let's, maybe find someone else in our dating search, So that's what I personally think that you should think about. All right. So anyway, I'm looking over here because I'm, doing live editing while I'm talking. So excuse me if I talk a little awkward. I'm still getting used to this whole thing, this new technique of making a video. But anyway, guys, I hope that you like what you heard. And if you do, please share it and also comment. I would really appreciate that, okay? And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching and peace out.